Okay, shalom everyone. This is a Friday afternoon, about a little after 12:30, I think. And I'd like to share a book today. I'm going to be coming out of a book called The Bible is the Black Man's History by Arthur Mawuli. And this is the book. The Bible is a Black Man's History book. So I'm going to be sharing a couple of paragraphs. I was reading the book and thought I would share some things out of this book. You may want to go ahead and order it. It's on Amazon, and I think it's about $35 to $40. So it's a pretty reasonable book for now. He also has another one called "The Call to the Hebrews" by the same author, Arthur Mawuli, Mawuli, Mawuli. So, anyways, I'm going to be sharing some maps too, a couple of maps. I'm not going to try to be long. So anyway, it says the loss coming out of the chapter, the loss of identity, meaning the lost identity of the ancient Israelites, which is us. So it goes on to say, it says, any dangerous thing happened, which caused many disastrous things happen when caused the ancient Israelites to lose knowledge of their true identity. For the skeptic out there who think it is not possible for a whole nation to lose knowledge of their identity, such things do happen. Mass migrations and tragedies can cause people to lose knowledge of their ancestral identity. For example, millions of black people in America and the Caribbean lost knowledge of their identity through slavery. If it happened to the African slaves, it means that it could happen many times in mankind's history. In the case of the Israelites, the ancient Israelites, defeat in war, slavery, and exile played a major role in their loss of identity. Also, their time in the diaspora brought with it mingling with non-Hebrew people. I'm sorry. This situation caused them to adopt the culture and tradition of the foreigners, leading to their rapid assimilation. Thus absorbed into a new way of life, and many lost knowledge of their past and especially their covenant with Elohim. It says that in addition, the Gentile nations attracted to the Hebrew teaching and way of life was to bring its own problems. It is not too much of a problem with a nation population is in the tens of millions and foreigners come to live in the land in the time. It says the newcomer adopt the local ways of life and become absorbed into the population. However, it is a different matter when the population is small and thousands of foreigners join themselves to the natives, which is a small nation. Within a short time, they will be assimilated by the invaders and lose their identity. Case in point is what happened to the native when Europeans immigrated overrun America starting in the 17th century. In time, the natives lost their identity to the invaders. It says similar things happened to the ancient Israelites, leading to the loss of their identity. It all started with the destruction of their country by the Assyrians and the Babylonians. So here's an ancient map of Mes- 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 Mesopotamia. I always get my tongue tied when I say that. So we know that Israel was um, cap- captive of the Babylonians and the Assyrians and many other nations. And so when they took us into those captivities, we start losing our identity because we start exercising their identity. We start practicing their culture, the way they talk, the way they dress, the way they eat. Everything changed. So of course, when you are the what is that? If you are the uh, minority in the group, then of course that nation is going to absorb you, or you're going to be absorbed by that nation. Then he goes on to say, but contrary to the popular opinion, the enemy took only a small minority of the Israelites into exile. This small number is easily assimilated into any foreign culture. So it goes without saying, those taken into exile by Assyrians soon lost their Hebrew identity. Even so, the destruction of their land caused those who escaped the enemy to eventually lose their identity. Right, you destroy the land, you destroy all the art, you destroy, all of that. And your the writings and whatever they have to establish their culture, they destroys it all, you lose it, especially when you're fleeing. It kind of remind me when I used to work for the Social Security office. We had a lot of people coming in from other country, and to get their different visas because they had to flee because of danger, losing their lives. So a lot of these people came up with absolutely nothing. They didn't have a birth certificate. They had no kind of record. They had to start all over again. So can you imagine having all your culture just taken away from you, and all you can leave was just the clothes on your back? So I kind of get what he's saying here. It says, it goes on without saying, those taken to exile by the Assyrian soon lost their Hebrew identity. Even so, the destruction of their land caused those who escaped the enemy so eventually lose their identity. It says regarding Judah, and this is the evidence he's giving, and this is scripture. Regarding Judah, the evidence from the scripture tells us the enemy took only 10,000 of Judites into the exile. So let's go to 2 King, Second King, verse 24, 14. And he carried away all the Jerusalem and all the princes and all the mighty men of valor, even 10,000 captives, and all the craftsmen and smith. None remained save the poorest sort of the people of the land. And also Jeremiah speaks of a certain amount that was taken as well. So let's go to Jeremiah. Jeremiah 52, starting at 28. So, okay, so it says that Jeremiah counted 4,600. It says, Jeremiah 52:28. This is the people whom Nebuchadnezzar carried away captive. So here's Babylon here. And we know that the Palestine or Canaan is here. So we have to say that Israel over here in this area right here. Okay, so again, this is Mesopotamia, ancient map of Mesopotamia. It says, this is the people whom Nebuchadnezzar carried away captive in the seventh year, 3,000 Jews and 3 and 20. 3,000, so it was 3,032. Um, yeah. And then in the eighth year of Nebuchadnezzar, he carried away captive from Jerusalem 832. Carried away 832. In the third year, verse 30, in the third and 20th year, Nebuchadnezzar, the captain of guard, carried away captives of the Jews 732 and 5 persons, all total 4,600. 4,600. That's Jeremiah 52:28 through 30. So that's how many that um, Second Kings had a record of, and then Jeremiah had a record of as well. It says either way, it doesn't matter because these are insignificant small amounts. It says, thus, it leaves the obvious question, what happened to the millions that made up the rest of the population? It is what happened to the millions who escaped the twin assault of Assyria and Babylon that helped us understand how the Israelite lost knowledge of their identity, which makes absolutely a lot of sense. It says the Bible account states that the bulk of the population fled to Africa to escape the anticipated Babylonian invasion. Having seen the Assyrians take their brothers in the 10 tribes kingdom into exile, those in Judah did not want the same fate to befall them. Thus, prior to the Babylonian invasion, many fled to Egypt. We find that in Jeremiah, yes, it says, um, but thus said the Lord, like the bad fig that are so bad they cannot be eaten, so will I treat Zedekiah, the king of Judah, his official, the remnant of Jerusalem who remain in this land, and those who dwell in the land, That's Jeremiah 24, 8. Now, in his book, he has the ESV reading. Then it goes on to say, it says, um, verse 30, it says, woe to the rebellious children, saith the Lord, that take counsel, but not of me, and that cover with a covering, but not of my spirit, that they may add sin to sin. It says, that walk go down to, it says, that walk to go down into Egypt, and have not asked at my mouth to strengthen themselves in the strength of Pharaoh, and to trust the shadow of Egypt. Therefore shall the strength of Pharaoh be your shame, and the trust in the shadow of Egypt your confusion. For this prince were at Zion, and his ambassador came to Hanes. They were all ashamed of a people that could not profit them, nor be a help, nor profit, but a shame and also a reproach. The burdens of the beast of the south into the land of trouble and anguish, from whence come the young and old lions, the viper and fiery flying serpents. They would carry their rich upon the shoulders of young ass, and their treasure upon the bunches of camels, to a people that shall not profit them. So you're going to a place where they're not going to profit. They're not going to progress. They'll be captive slaves. It says, for the Egyptians shall help in vain, and to no purpose. Therefore have I cried concerning this. Their strength is to sit still. Now go, write it before them in a table, and note it in a book, that it may be for the time to come, forever and ever. Now he took this from Jeremiah 24, and then also Jeremiah 30, um, 2 through 8. Then you get some more scriptures, Isaiah 31, 8. Please also read Isaiah 19, 18 through 19, Isaiah 31, 1 through 3, Isaiah 19, 18 through 19. So he gives a lot of scriptures explaining the captivity and how we came about losing our identity down the centuries, even up until this day, because of course we would have long forgotten most of it by the time transatlantic slave trade and the Arab slave trade, because we're in Africa at that time. We know we were in Africa at that time, our ancestor, because this map here. So we know that we were in those areas. Our ancestors was in those areas when they fled into Africa. All the different time, always going into Africa to hide. So we have here, like in some Gambia, we have Judaism here, and here's Sierra Leone, Liberia, Ashanti, the Jewish traces, Dahomey Jewish traces. This is Levi, Ephraim, Dahomey, which is Benin. We have dates here where it shows some of the dates that we were here, there in this in Africa, and built colonies and kingdoms. If you go look at the map, the Negro land, you see all the different kingdoms all over West Africa, not just in West, but North, East, West, and South. We had North, South, East, and West. So this is West Africa over here. So, but anyways, It has here where we says here Yahism in 700 BC. We have 640 BC here where we established kingdoms. 800 BC up here, Sidon, Israel. Um, Up north, Northeast Africa, and we know that they changed Northeast Africa to Middle East. Middle East is a really obvious. It's a a very recent name. It's not an ancient. It's not an ancient name. It's not. So and then we have over here, yeah, isn't right here, and this is pre exile here, up in this area, Nuba. They have over here Palestine. See. So anyway, we know that we fled into Africa several times, and this is what he's saying: we fled into Africa. Always run into Africa because we look just like them. It says these verses are describing the verse exodus of the Hebrews back to the land where they first became a nation. The bulk of the population never returned to Israel. They are still in Africa. Exactly. Absolutely. This and this map is from a book called The Lost Tribe of Myth. And then there's another one, um, To Travel to Africa. This one is by a Alan Godby, and the other one is by a Slouch is his name. So if you go look at some of my couple of my other videos, I in fact I show the books on my on the web my on my videos, the title and the name of the authors of those books. So what I try to do is when I read books and I come across some things, I try to share it, and I also share the book, just in case if you want to go buy the book yourself. So it says we will come back to them after we talk about the rest of the lost tribe, the bulk of the population um of the Jews or Yehudians are still in Africa, and we know that to be a fact. You're talking about the Limba, the Igbos. We talk about the Ewe people. So we definitely know that there's still most of them are still there, and it's obvious that they were taken during the slave trade, taken all everybody taken from. Not all of Judah was taken out of Africa. I can't believe that. Most High said his people is as the sand of the sea, and that's innumerable. So then it goes on to say, it says, meanwhile, those taken into captivity in Babylon remained there for 70 years. It says their population increased while in exile. Upon their return to their homeland, they numbered 50,000. You find that in Nehemiah chapter 7, verse 66 through 67. Again, he said, meanwhile, those taken into captivity in Babylon remained there for 70 years. Their population increased while in exile, and upon their return to their homeland, they numbered 50,000. Nehemiah chapter 7, verse 66 through 67. This was enough people to rebuild their shattered nation. The return rebuilt Judea, but things were never going to be the same as before. The changing world political situation would see to that. And it goes on to say, early invaded earlier invaders included Babylon, the Medes, and the Persian, left Hebrew people to their own device. This include allowing them to continue their tradition and religion. You find that in 2 Kings chapter 23, verse 24, also 2 Chronicle 36, verse 4, also in 2 Kings 24, 15 through 16. It says, but all this was about to change with the arrival of the Greeks. Hmm. These got involved in the affairs of the Hebrew people as no invader had ever done before. And you know what? I think he's going to go up to Maccabees when talking about how took their, they if they practiced their language or even spoke their language, they were killed for it. And a lot of people did give, they didn't give up their culture, so they just took death. It says Alexander the Great conquest of the Levant in the late 4th century BCE spread Greek culture into Palestine. Soon their interference with the local caused the two culture, Hebrew and Greek, to mix together. It says a fusion of the Hebrew religious tradition with elements of Greek culture became known as Hellenism. The result were still being felt to this very present day. Exactly, because see how they teach that Greek and Jew and Greek, and not knowing that the Greeks and Gentiles, now knowing that the Gentiles are the northern kingdom, because of the scattering, because of the captivity, because of losing our culture and losing our language, and not only just losing it, but forcing us not to use it and live our culture. It says um, it says Alexander the Great conquest of the Levant in the late 4th century BCE spread Greek culture into Palestine. Let me stop for just a second because I'm going to show you Alexander on this map. Oh my Lord, where did I see him at? Oh, let's see, probably be over here. I know Alexander's on here. I don't want to mess with see too much time, but I might be overlooking it right now. But it shows on here Alexander. Maybe I can find that later. I don't want to spend too much time looking at this because I didn't run across that. Just remembered, I remember seeing Alexander. Anyways, but he is on this map here. It shows Alexander somewhere on here. And here's Alexander right here. Alexander. So when it says here that Alexander the Great, conquerors of the Levant, and that's Mesopotamia, Levant, or Northeast Africa, in the late 4th century BCE, spread Greek culture into Palestine. So here is Alexander, and here's Palestine over here. This all adding up, y'all. Now here's a guy that wrote this book. It's about a 500-page book. You can download it on PDF. It's about a 500 page book, and it talks about all the different tribes in Africa. It gives a lot of history, it gives a lot of scripture, it gives just a lot. So it's a really interesting book. Now, if you go to Amazon, that book gonna cost you thousands of dollars. I think the last time I checked was $14,000. So I went to ebook, not ebook, but AB ebook, and I bought both of them for a total of $248. And they were reprints, but they are exact because what I do is I read the book and I also use the PDF that I have. Now you can also get the PDF real quick and easy from a channel called Truth Unedited, and just put Truth Unedited um, Alan Gabi map, and it'll bring this map up. Or some of you probably already know how to pull it up, but anyways, it says soon their interference, meaning Alexander, with the local caused the two culture, Hebrew and Greek, to mix together. Now they're making sense the New Testament. This fusion of the Hebrew religion tradition with the elements of Greek culture became known as Hellenism. The result are still being felt to this present day. Not only felt, but it's being taught that those Gentiles are the Gentile nation, and it's very clearly, if you go read and study, it's not. It's just simply not. It says the New Testament is awash with the mixing of the Israelites and the Greeks, but we fail to realize the significance of this assimilation. It was huge. The Greek practically swallowed up the Hebrew culture and made it their own. For example, the common Roman alphabet that we use was originally Hebrew, which the Greek adopted and made their own. It says, I am from West Africa. This is the author Mawuli said. When I started researching my people history, I was struck by the similarity between the local oral legend and that of the ancient Greeks. The local folklore and that of the Greeks, Homer, are uncannily similar. It says, this makes one wonder if there is a link between the ERVEH people in West Africa and the Greek. I know he's not talking about the European Greeks, talking about those who was Hellenized and called Greeks. Reading the book of the Maccabees seemed to confirm that there is indeed a link. First Maccabee 12:5 through 23 and First Maccabee chapter 14, 20 to 23 speaks of the exchange of the letters between Sparta and Judea. In this correspondence, the two nations claim to be kinsmen. Chapter 12, verse 20 through 23 of the book of the Maccabees reads, King Arius of Sparta, to Aeneas the high priest, greetings. We have found a document about the Spartans and the Jews indicating that we are related and that both of our nations are descended from Abraham. Now, verse 22, now that we have discovered this, please send us a report about your situation. 23, in reply, we will send you a letter indicating that we are willing to share our possession and including cattle and property. If you would do the same, we have given orders to our ambassadors to give you all full report about these matters. That was found in First Maccabees chapter 12, verses 20 through 23. It says, um, then it goes on to say it says, there is something peculiar about this correspondence between Sparta and Judah. The letters were exchanged when the Judites were at war with the Greeks, thus begging the question, why would Sparta, which was known to be a city state in Greece, write to the enemy acknowledging kinship in a time of hostilities between Judah and Greece? It does not make sense. The Judean historian Josephus, in his book Antiquities of Jews, reiterated the account in the book of Maccabees. His account read as follows: Arius, king of the Lacedaemon, Lacedaemonians, to Oias sendeth greeting. We have discovered that both the Jews and the Lacedaemonians, or the Spartans, are of one stock and are derived from the kindred of Abraham. This letter, wow, this letter is four squares, and the seal is an eagle with a dragon in his claw. Antiquities of the Jews, chapter 12, verses 4 through 10. So that's saying that the Greeks was a northern kingdom, Sparta and Judah. But again, you have Christian teaching that the Gentiles are talking about the other nations, and it's absolutely just not true. I don't want to stay here too long. I'm going to read a couple more, maybe another chapter, and then I'll continue. It says, um, I know for a fact that the Greeks are not Hebrews because they are descended from the line of Noah, son Japheth. Right. So he's saying that the actual descendants or those original descendants or Aboriginal Greeks are not Hebrews, but they are. They would be from Japheth. But the Greeks that he was talking about between the Greeks and Sparta, saying that they're Sparta and Judah being kinsmen, he's talking about the northern kingdom. It says the Hebrew people, on the other hand, are descendants of Noah or son Shem. Nevertheless, the fact remains that a lot of Greeks in every legend is similar. Why this is the case may be explained by the Spartan factor. Right. Well, we know it is. We're not talking about the Greeks. There were those who were living in Greek. That's Maccabee. You go back to Maccabees, call them Hellenism. They were Hellenized. So we know that they are not actually Greeks when he was talking about Sparta and Judah during this in Maccabees, this chapter 14. First Maccabee chapter 14. Um, It says why is this the case may be why this is the case may be explained by the Sparta factor. I mean Sparta, which was Greek, said that they were related to Judah. They were kinsmen. Um, It says that the same factor may explain why of all Europeans certain Greeks suffer from sickle cell anemia. This is a sickness only black people suffer from. Not all Europeans now, all not all Greeks. It says this is says, but among Europeans, some among the Greeks are susceptible to the disease. Why this is the case, no one has been able to explain. But it does point to a huge mixing of bloodline between Negroes, Caucasians, sometime in Greek history. Of course, they mix. Again, all the captivity they went into, just like we're mixing today. Until the day we're mixing. You got black women marrying white men, and you got black men and white women, and Chinese women and Asian. We just mixing all over the place, just spreading the seed everywhere. Not knowing that you're not knowing that when you do that, you mix, you destroy a nation. You really do. And not only that, you create these confused children that say that they are they're mixed. you know you're not mixed. You are what your father are. So if a father is white and the mother's black, no matter if you're dark or not, or how light you are or how dark you are a Caucasian. You are the father. You are what your father are. The same as the black man to have a kid by the Asian woman or white woman. That child gonna be a black. The father's is the black father is the determined factor. He determined who the child is. So I don't care for it. I mean, that's personally speaking, because not because I have anything against white people or black people or Asian people. It's just that I just think it just mixes people up, especially the children, because they walk and say, "Well, I'm biracial." No, you're not biracial. You are what your father are, not your mother. So there's no such thing as biracial. That's man-made, created. But I digress. That's a whole different can of worms. So I think I'm going to stop here for now, and I'm going to read some more of this. Um, but I thought I would share some of the information out of the book um, that I well, I might go on and just read this part. I mean, let me do another two chapters, then I'll go. I'll just cut it short. It's a good book. I mean, I read it over and over again. It seems like it's brand new because I haven't read it for so long. It says the jury is still out on this one, and the whole chapter can be written on it, but not here in the da, da, da. So it happens that the Jews who returned from exile in Babylon soon came under Greek domination. However, the newcomers incest interference in the way of life. So it interfered in their way of life, causing the Hebrews to resist their rule. Talking about the Greek. It says the Hasmonean revolt, as it was called, nearly wiped out every vintage of Hellenism. But the triumph was short lived. In time, Yeshua was born and he introduced Christianity. He didn't introduce no Christianity. I disagree with that part. He didn't introduce, he came for his people, just like came for the lost sheep in the house of Israel. He didn't come and create some new Christianity. That's just Christian stuff. And some of the stuff, that he can prove with scriptures and history, I agree with. But when it comes down to Christianity, no, he did not create no Christianity. It says, nevertheless, the literal word Jew is not in the entire original text of the Bible. There's no name like that in either the original text of either Old or New Testament. The name is derived from the identity of the inhabitant of Judah, one of the 12 tribes of Israel. Let me read that again. Nevertheless, the literal word Jew is not in the entire original text of the Bible. There is no name like that in either the original text of either the Old or New Testament. The name is derived from the identity of the inhabitant of Judah, one of the 12 tribes of Israel. However, the original Hebrew text of the Old Testament used the word Yehudim, meaning Yehudites. Judaites. The original Greek text of the New Testament uses the word Iodians, which means Judea. Earlier translation of the Bible kept those original names, but modern translation changed them to Jew. Now, this word Iudaios, you can find that's very word, the kingdom of Iodius, and that's on the Negro map. Um, just type in Negro map, African, not just Negro map, yeah, Negro land map, and you'll see where it says the kingdom of Laudius. I know Iodius, which means Judea. Earlier, earlier translations of the Bible kept these original names, but modern translations changed them to Jew. After the death of Christ in 70 AD, the Romans destroyed Jerusalem and scattered the survivors throughout the Roman Empire, thereby further reducing the population of the Hebrews gathered in one place as a nation. In times, the converts to Judaism overwhelmed the Judeans in numbers and took over their identity. That's right. I'll read that again. In time, the converts to Judaism overwhelmed the Judeans in numbers and took over their identity. For some explained reason, they became known as Jews. Yeah, they became as known as Jews. My throat is dry, y'all. That's why I have to end this in a minute. They became Jews because of the converts. When they converted over to Judaism, then they changed the name from Judean to Jews. It is during this period in history that the same Jews came into vogue. Thus, the name Jew replaced the rightly translated name known as Judites or Judeans. Following its widespread usage, it became the general accepted name of the Israelites. Consequently, all modern Bible carry the name Jew. It sure does. Thus, further cementing the loss of identity of the Hebrews, of the true Hebrews. So I'm gonna stop there because my throat is getting real dry. But like I said, I was reading the book and looking at some maps and stuff, so I thought I would come on and share a couple of chapters out of the book. And again, the book is called The Bible. It's a Black Man's History book, and it's by the author Mawuli, Mawuli, Mawuli. So I'm going to go ahead and say shalom, you all, and I hope you all got a little some history knowledge. At least that's what I try to do when I come on my channels. On my channel, I try to spread a little knowledge. But again, we know that we are the people. We know that we have lost our identity, and um, so no matter what other people say, we're not trying to take somebody else's identity. We're just trying to you know practice our culture and get our culture back and start living it out. So we're going to go ahead and end this, and hopefully, again, I hope you all learned something or got some understanding out of this, because I'm learning every day. I have so many books here that I'm trying to start going through them and sharing them with others on my website. I'm going to be showing some other books that I have that I purchased that you all may be interested in. So again, I say shalom and have a blessed evening and have a wonderful Sabbath.